They say the most dangerous men aren't the ones who hurt you. They're the ones who measure exactly how close you can get before they destroy you. Taejin Seo measured his safety in feet. 3 feet minimum. No negotiations. No exceptions for 6 years straight. He built an empire on the principle that distance equals survival. Proximity equals death. Then Kemi Adebayo walked into his bar, sat down 2 feet away without permission, and said 5 words that shattered 6 years of control. I hope you don't mind sharing. This is the story of what happens when a man who spent 6 years letting no one close meets a woman who doesn't believe in his invisible walls. When 3 feet becomes 3 inches. When distance becomes danger. When the line you drew to protect yourself becomes the line someone crosses to save you. But before you understand why she crossed it, you need to know what made him draw it in the first place. Taejin Seo measures his life in distances. 3 feet between himself and anyone who tries to approach. 3 meters between his chair and the conference table during business meetings. 3 blocks between his penthouse and the nearest person he employs directly. Numbers keep you safe. Numbers don't betray you. Numbers don't get close enough to see your weakness and use it to kill everyone you love. Tonight, he's in Myeongdong, a bar he doesn't own but controls through silent partnership. Standard arrangement. He provides capital and protection. They provide space and discretion. And most importantly, they enforce his rules. No one approaches his table without explicit permission. No one breaches the 3-foot perimeter. No one gets close. He sits in the corner booth. Alone. Always alone. 3 feet of empty space radiating around him like invisible force field. Staff know better than to approach unless summoned with precise hand gesture. Customers sense something dangerous about the man who sits so perfectly still and avoid him instinctively, moving around him like water around stone. 34 years old. 6 years since the thing that broke him. 6 years since he learned that closeness kills faster than any bullet. 6 years of building an empire on the principle that you can't lose what you never let near. And it's worked. He survived. Thrived even. Became one of Seoul's most influential underground operators without anyone getting close enough to find leverage. The cost? He touches no one. Speaks to people from measured distances. Conducts all business through intermediaries when possible. Lives in penthouse designed with furniture spaced for maximum separation. Sleeps alone. Eats alone. Exists in carefully constructed isolation that keeps him powerful and safe and completely, utterly alone. He watches people tonight. That's what he does. Observes from distance. Sees patterns others miss. Reads weakness in body language. Identifies threats before they materialize. Never participates. Never engages. Just calculates. Controls. Maintains his 3 feet of safety like his life depends on it. Because it does. Then she walks in. Kemi Adebayo. 27 years old. British-Nigerian journalist working on feature story about Seoul's underground economy. She doesn't know Taejin Seo. Doesn't recognize the most untouchable man in Myeongdong sitting in his corner booth. Just sees crowded bar with 1 table that has empty seats and 1 person who looks like he wants to be left alone. Perfect. She walks straight to his table. No hesitation. No asking permission. Just pulls out the chair directly across from him and sits down. 2 feet away. Maybe less. Violating his space without even realizing what she's doing. Taejin freezes. Every muscle locked. Every nerve firing warning signals. No one sits at his table. Ever. No one crosses the 3-foot line. His staff should have stopped her. Should have redirected her to literally any other seat in the establishment. Should have protected his space like they're paid to do. But they're too shocked to move. In 6 years, no one has breached the perimeter. No one has sat at his table uninvited. No one has dared. Until now. Sorry, she says, pulling out a laptop without looking at him. I hope you don't mind sharing. Everywhere else is packed, and I desperately need to finish this before my editor murders me. Her accent is British. Polished, but with underlying cadence that suggests it wasn't her first language. Her skin is deep brown, rich and dark like expensive chocolate. Her hair is in neat box braids pulled into low bun at the nape of her neck. She wears simple black turtleneck and jeans. Silver hoops in her ears catching the bar's dim lighting. She opens her laptop. Starts typing, completely oblivious to the fact that she just committed the most egregious violation anyone's dared in 6 years. Taejin should tell her to leave. Should signal his security who are hovering nervously at the bar. Should do something, anything, to restore his boundaries. Instead, he sits frozen, watching this woman who just collapsed 6 years of carefully constructed distance without even noticing. His heart hammers. Sweat forms at his temples. The proximity triggers something visceral. Not fear exactly. Worse than fear. The certainty that closeness means disaster. That this woman sitting 2 feet away is an inherent threat just by existing in his space. "I'm Kimmy, by the way," she says, still typing, still not looking at him. "I promise I'll be quiet. I just need to finish this article before my deadline in 3 hours." Journalism waits for no one. She's talking to him, actually addressing him directly, like they're sharing space casually, like his invisible wall doesn't exist, like 3 feet doesn't matter. Tae-jin finds his voice. It comes out colder than he intends. "You should move." She looks up, blinks, really sees him for the first time. "Oh, sorry. Were you saving this seat for someone?" "No." "Then what's the problem?" "You're in my space. It's a shared table in a public bar. That's how sharing works." She goes back to typing. "Don't worry. I won't bother you. I'm in deadline mode. Basically socially dead. He should call security. Should have her removed. Should do 100 things that would restore order. Instead, he hears himself say, "You need to move. Now." Something in his tone finally registers. She stops typing. Looks at him properly this time. Really looks. Sees the expensive tailored suit in charcoal gray. The way his hands are pressed flat on the table, like he's bracing himself. The absolute stillness of his posture that suggests coiled tension. The way bar staff are hovering nervously at distance, watching this interaction with barely concealed alarm. "Oh," she says slowly. "Oh God, you're someone important, aren't you? This is your private table. I just massively violated some unspoken Korean social hierarchy thing." "Yes." Should I be scared? The question surprises him. Most people would be backtracking, apologizing, fleeing. She's asking if fear is the appropriate response, like she's conducting research. "Probably," he answers honestly. She studies him for a long moment, then smiles. It's not a nervous smile, not placating, just genuinely amused. "Well, I'm already here, and you haven't thrown me out yet. So either you're more polite than your reputation suggests, or you're curious why some random foreign woman just steamrolled your boundaries." "I don't get curious. Everyone gets curious. That's what makes us human." The word human lands strangely. Tae-jin hasn't felt human in 6 years. Hasn't let himself. Human means vulnerable. Human means feeling things. Human means caring enough that losing something destroys you. She saves her document, closes her laptop, gives him her full attention. Kemi Adebayo, freelance journalist currently working on a piece about Seoul's informal economy. "And you are leaving." He stands, but something stops him. Maybe it's the fact that she didn't flinch when he told her to be scared. Maybe it's the way she called him human, like that's something he still qualifies as. Maybe it's just the novelty of someone treating his space like it's negotiable instead of sacred law. He sits back down. Kemi's eyebrows rise. Genuine surprise. That was unexpected. Most people either tell me their names or storm off offended. You did option 3. Sit back down and continue being mysterious. I don't tell strangers my name. Fair enough. Can I call you something? Mr. Mysterious? Guy who thinks personal space is measured in yards. 3-foot rule man. Despite 6 years of practiced emotional control, Tae-jin almost smiles. Almost. You always this inappropriate with people you just met. Only when I'm tired and stressed and running on 3 hours of sleep. Also when I'm well rested and calm. Turns out I just have a consistency problem when it comes to respecting boundaries. She flags down a server. Orders whiskey neat. Then glances at him. You drinking? No. Let me guess. You don't drink in public. Control issue. She's too perceptive. It's deeply annoying. Something like that. I get it. I don't eat in front of interview subjects. They read too much into your choices. Order salad, you're judgy. Order burger, you're trying too hard to relate. Order anything expensive, you're flaunting privilege. So I just skip meals during work hours entirely. She accepts the whiskey when it arrives. Takes careful sip. This is my first break in 9 hours. I might be slightly unhinged right now. Slightly. Okay, very. But in my defense, my editor keeps changing the angle on this story. First it's about street vendors and informal markets. Then it's about underground money lending operations. Then it's about whatever invisible economy exists that I'm too foreign and too obvious to access. I'm basically chasing a story that might not actually exist. Taejin knows exactly what story she's chasing. He is that story. The invisible economy. The underground networks that move money and power through channels no journalist will ever properly document, because the people who understand it won't talk to outsiders. And the people who will talk don't actually know anything worth knowing. You won't find it, he says flatly. Why not? Because the people who know won't tell you. And the people who will talk don't actually know anything. She considers this. Tilts her head. You sound very certain. Like you know which category you fall into. I'm in the third category. People who don't talk to journalists at all. And yet here you are? Talking to me. She's right. He is talking. More than he's talked to anyone in months. More than he talks to his own lieutenants most days. And she's still sitting there. 2 feet away. Maybe less. Violating his space. Making him forget all the reasons why 3 feet matters. Making him remember what conversation feels like. He needs to end this. Needs to restore boundaries. Needs to remember that 6 years of isolation has kept him alive and powerful, and this woman with her direct questions and easy smile is dangerous precisely because she makes proximity feel normal. You should go, he says. Not harsh. Just firm. Final. Give me 5 more minutes. I promise I'll leave after I finish this drink. Never bother you again. You can go back to your mysterious, brooding, corner table existence. Don't subscribe if you just want stories that end neatly. This one doesn't. Why journalism, he asks. Against every instinct. Against 6 years of not asking personal questions. Against his better judgment. She looks surprised by the question. Because I like asking questions people don't want to answer. Because I grew up in London watching my parents struggle in an economy that's deliberately opaque to immigrants. All these invisible rules. Invisible networks. Invisible barriers. Making them visible felt like serving some small justice. She takes another sip of whiskey. Also, I'm terrible at math and science, so most stable career paths were closed to me. You could have chosen safer questions to ask. I could have. But safe questions get safe answers. And safe answers don't change anything. Don't expose anything. Don't help anyone. There's steel underneath her lightness. Real conviction wrapped in self-deprecating humor. Taejin recognizes it because he used to have it too. Before he learned that conviction gets people killed. Before he learned that caring about things makes you vulnerable. Before his brother died because Taejin wasn't careful enough about who got close. Danger doesn't change things either, he says quietly. It just gets you hurt. Speaking from experience? Yes. They sit in silence for a moment. Kimmy finishes her whiskey. Closes her laptop. Packs her things with efficient movements. Stands. Thank you for not immediately throwing me out. I know I violated some serious boundaries tonight. For what it's worth, I'm genuinely sorry. She pulls out a business card. Sets it carefully on the table between them. If you ever decide you want to talk about the invisible economy, even off the record, I promise I'm discreet. I never reveal sources. Never burn bridges. That's rule number 1 of actual journalism. She walks away before he can respond. Disappears into the crowded bar. Gone. Taejin stares at the card. Simple design. White background. Black text. Kimmy Adebayo. Freelance journalist. Email address and phone number. Nothing else. He should throw it away. Should forget this entire interaction. Should call his staff over and reprimand them for letting someone breach his space. Should restore his boundaries and never think about the woman who sat 2 feet away like it meant nothing. Instead, he pockets the card. His head of security, Junho, approaches carefully. 38 years old. Been with Taejin since the beginning. Knows all the rules. Looks genuinely distressed. Boss, I'm so sorry. She got past us before we realized what was happening. It won't happen again. It's fine. Junho blinks. Boss. I said it's fine. Should we make sure she doesn't come back? Put her photo up with the other band individuals. Taejin watches the door Kimmy exited through. Watches other patrons move through the space. Everything normal again. Except nothing feels normal. For 6 years, his 3-foot rule has been absolute. Inviolable. The foundation of his survival. And some journalist just sat down and demolished it without even trying. No, he says finally. Let her come back if she wants. Junho's surprise is visible. Clear shock on his usually neutral face. Boss, are you sure? She violated protocol. That's grounds for permanent ban at minimum. I'm aware. I'm saying let her come back. Is she important somehow? Connected to something? No. She's no one. Just a journalist working on a story she'll never finish. Then why? Because I said so. Is that clear? Yes, boss. Completely clear. Junho retreats. Taejin sits alone in his booth. 3 feet of empty space restored around him. Everything back to normal. Except his heart is still beating too fast. His hands are still pressed flat to the table. And he can still smell her perfume. Something subtle. Cocoa butter and shea. Something warm. It's not fine. None of this is fine. Because Taejin Seo doesn't let people cross his lines. Doesn't make exceptions. Doesn't sit with strangers who violate his carefully constructed space. And he definitely doesn't pocket business cards from journalists who ask dangerous questions and see through his walls like they're made of glass. Yet here he is, doing all of it. 3 days pass. Taejin tells himself to forget. Tells himself it was momentary lapse. Tells himself that his 3-foot rule remains intact and functional, and the woman was just unusual circumstance that won't repeat. But on Wednesday night, she comes back. Same bar. Same time. She walks in carrying laptop bag. Scans the room. Spots Taejin in his corner booth. And walks straight to him like last time wasn't violation. Like she has standing invitation. Is this seat taken? She asks, gesturing to the chair across from him. Or am I about to violate protocol again? He should say yes. Should tell her to leave. Should restore boundaries. Instead, sit. She does. Same distance as before. 2 feet. Maybe less. Too close. Not close enough. I wasn't sure you'd be here, she admits, pulling out her laptop. I thought maybe you were one-time occurrence. Wrong place. Wrong time. Never to be seen again. I'm here every Wednesday. Creature of habit. Creature of routine. There's a difference. Is there? She opens her laptop. Starts typing. I won't stay long. Just need to work somewhere that isn't my apartment. The walls are literally closing in. Shoebox living at its finest. They sit in silence. She types. He watches. It should be uncomfortable. Should be violation. Instead it's oddly easy. Like they've done this before. Like 2 feet of distance is natural arrangement instead of breach of 6-year protocol. Can I ask you something? Kemi says after 20 minutes of silence. You can ask. I might not answer. The 3-foot thing. Is it trauma or preference? Most people would never ask that question. Would tiptoe around it. Would pretend they don't notice the deliberate distance he maintains from everyone. But Kemi asks directly. Like asking direct questions is her natural state. Taejin's jaw tightens. No one asks him direct questions. No one dares. Both. Do you want to talk about it? No. Fair enough. She goes back to typing. Doesn't push. Doesn't pry. Just accepts his boundary and moves on. The fact that she doesn't push makes him want to explain. Which is dangerous. Which is exactly why he maintains distance. Because once you start explaining yourself, you start caring what people think. And caring is how you get destroyed. But he finds himself talking anyway. 6 years ago, someone I trusted got too close. Close enough to see weakness. Close enough to learn patterns. Close enough to exploit every vulnerability. His voice is flat. Emotionless. He's told this story exactly 0 times in 6 years. By the time I realized what was happening, 8 people were dead. Including my younger brother. Kemi stops typing. Looks at him with expression that isn't pity. Just understanding. Just acknowledgement of pain without trying to fix it. So you built walls, she says quietly. Literal, measured walls. 3 feet. Quantifiable safety. 3 feet. Far enough that people can't read micro-expressions. Can't see details that reveal thinking. Can't find patterns to exploit. Can't get close enough to hurt you. Does it work? For 6 years, yes. And now? Now some journalist keeps sitting 2 feet away and making me question whether isolation is the same as safety. Kemi almost smiles. I'm very good at making people question their assumptions. It's my primary skill set. Secondary skill is apparently violating personal boundaries. It's annoying. I know. I've been told. They fall back into silence. But something has shifted. Some acknowledgement that they're both carrying weight. Both building structures to survive. Both finding those structures tested by simple proximity that shouldn't mean anything, but somehow means everything. I should go, Kemi says eventually, closing her laptop. Let you have your space back. Return to proper 3-foot protocol. You don't have to. The word surprised them both. Taejin doesn't ask people to stay. Doesn't encourage proximity. Doesn't bend his rules. Ever. Until now. Are you sure? Kimmy asks carefully. I don't want to push boundaries you're not ready to move. I'm not ready. But you're already here. And I haven't collapsed yet. That's not exactly reassuring. It's honest. She considers this. Then nods slowly. Okay. I'll stay for one more drink. But if you need me to leave at any point, just say the word. I promise I'll go immediately. No questions. No offense taken. They sit for another hour. She works on her article. He watches. Occasionally they talk. Small things. Her deadline pressures. His observations about Seoul's infrastructure. Nothing deep. Nothing revealing. Just two people existing in same space learning that maybe proximity doesn't have to mean danger. Maybe closeness can be just closeness. When she finally leaves, Tae-jin realizes something deeply troubling. The 2-foot distance doesn't feel like violation anymore. It feels normal. It feels right. It feels like possibility instead of threat. And that terrifies him more than anything has in 6 years. Over the next 6 weeks, Kimmy comes back every Wednesday. Then Wednesdays and Fridays. Then 3 times a week. Always to the same table. Always sitting exactly 2 feet away. Never pushing closer. Never demanding more than Tae-jin offers. Just existing beside him. Working. Talking occasionally. Creating routine that shouldn't exist, but does. They talk more each time. She tells him about growing up between Lagos and London. About feeling perpetually displaced. About using journalism to make sense of worlds that don't make sense. About her parents who worked 3 jobs each and still struggled. About her younger sister who's in medical school now. About the ex-boyfriend in London who used her work to cover his illegal activities. About why she came to Seoul. He tells her carefully edited stories about his work. About building influence through information. About the economics of fear. About reading people and patterns. About his brother Jaemin, who was supposed to take over the family business. About the woman Jaemin trusted who fed information to rivals. About the ambush that killed 8 people in one night. She never asks for specifics. Never pushes for names or operational details. Just listens. Accepts. Exists beside him without demanding he be someone different. It's addictive. It's terrifying. Why do you keep coming back? Tae-jin asks one Wednesday evening. Because you're interesting. Because talking to you makes me think differently about everything. Because. She trails off. Considers her words. Because you don't treat me like I'm fragile. Most people hear foreign woman alone in Seoul, and either want to protect me, or exploit me, or explain Korea to me like I'm 5. You just let me be. That's rare. You don't seem fragile. I'm not. But people assume. You didn't. You assumed other things. Like what? That I was reckless. That I get myself killed asking wrong questions to wrong people. And now I think you're right. I am reckless. But I'm also smart enough to know which questions are worth the risk. Usually. She laughs. The sound fills their corner of the bar. Warm and genuine. Tae-jin realizes he's been listening for that laugh. Waiting for it. Finding comfort in it. That's when he knows he's in serious trouble. The Wednesday she doesn't show up, Tae-jin tells himself it's fine. She has her own life. Her own work. No obligation to keep showing up to bar, just to sit with man who can't handle normal human proximity. But by hour 2 of waiting, he's worried. By hour 3, he's calling Junho. Find Kimmy Adebayo. Make sure she's safe. Do it now. Boss, is there a problem? Just find her. Immediately. Junho calls back within 20 minutes. She's at Severance Hospital in Sinchon. Was admitted about 6 hours ago. Emergency room. Tae-jin is moving before Junho finishes the sentence. Leaves the bar. Gets in his car. Drives too fast through Seoul traffic. Reaches hospital in 15 minutes. He finds her in emergency room waiting area. She's holding ice pack to her head. Blood dried on her collar. Talking to police officer who looks skeptical of whatever she's saying. Tae-jin approaches. The officer recognizes him immediately. Most Seoul police do. Steps back without being asked. What happened? Tae-jin asks. His voice is calm. Controlled. Deadly. Kimmy looks up. Surprise and relief cross her face simultaneously. Oh. Hi. I'm fine. Really. Just clumsy journalist who asked wrong person wrong question in wrong neighborhood. Who did this? I don't know. I was interviewing street vendor about informal lending operations. 2 men showed up. Told me to stop asking questions. I didn't stop fast enough. They shoved me into wall. I hit my head. Got this lovely cut and probable concussion. But really it's not. Who were they? His voice drops lower. Colder. Describe them. I told you I don't know. I didn't get names. Just two guys in their 30s. Korean. One had tattoo on his neck. Dragon or snake, I couldn't tell. The other had scar across his left eyebrow. That's all I saw before I hit the wall. But Tae-jin knows. Knows exactly which operation she stumbled into. Knows exactly who runs it. Knows exactly who would send men to intimidate foreign journalists asking questions. And knows exactly how to make sure it never happens again. Come with me, he says. I need to finish with the police. You're done. He looks at the officer. Direct eye contact. She's finished giving her statement. Yes. The officer nods quickly, understanding the unspoken message. Yes. We have everything we need. If we require additional information, we'll contact you, Ms. Adebayo. But I didn't finish. You're done, Tae-jin repeats. Gentler this time. He extends his hand to help her up. Kemi stares at his hand. 6 weeks of sitting 2 feet apart. 6 weeks of careful distance. And now he's offering to touch her. To help her. To cross his own line. She takes his hand. The contact sends shock through his system. 6 years since he's touched anyone voluntarily. 6 years since contact felt like anything other than threat. Her hand is warm. Solid. Real. He helps her stand. Doesn't let go immediately. Just holds on for a moment longer than necessary. Thank you, she says quietly. He releases her hand. Leads her out of hospital. His car is waiting. He opens the door. She hesitates. I can get myself home, she says. Really? I've navigated worse neighborhoods than this. I'm sure you can. Get in anyway. She does. They drive in silence. But not toward her apartment in Itaewon. Toward his building. His penthouse. His space that no one enters without explicit invitation. Where are we going? Kemi asks, noticing they're heading wrong direction. Somewhere safe. Your place? Yes. That's breaking your rules, isn't it? Bringing someone into your space. Letting me cross the final line. All my rules have been breaking since you sat at my table without permission. His penthouse is exactly what she'd expect. Minimalist. Controlled. Everything in its place. Nothing personal visible. And notably, furniture arranged with clear spaces between pieces. Couch positioned 3 feet from coffee table. Chairs spaced evenly around dining table. Everything measured. Everything deliberate. Let me see your head, Tae-jin says. The hospital already checked me. I'm fine. Let me see anyway. She sighs. Sits on his couch. He moves closer. Closer than 3 feet for the first time by choice. Closer than 2 feet. Close enough to carefully move her braids aside and examine the cut on her temple. His hands are shaking. 6 years since he's been this close to anyone. 6 years since he's touched another person beyond necessary business handshakes done at maximum arm's length. And now he's standing inches from Kemi, hands gentle on her face, trying to assess damage while his entire nervous system screams at him to back away. To restore distance. To protect himself. You're shaking, she observes quietly. I know. Is this too close? Yes. Should I move? No. Stay still. She does. Stays perfectly still. Lets him finish examining her head. The cut is minor. Bleeding stopped. Cleaned at hospital. She'll have bruise, but nothing serious. Nothing that requires immediate intervention. He should step back now. Should restore proper distance. Should remember all the reasons why 3 feet matters. Why proximity is dangerous. Why caring about someone enough to touch them is how you lose them. Instead he stays there. Inches away. Just breathing. Just existing in this impossible proximity that should feel threatening and instead feels like coming home after long exile. Tae-jin, she whispers, using his name for first time. Are you okay? No. What do you need? I need you to stop asking dangerous questions. I need you to be safe. I need you to not get hurt investigating things that will get you killed. I need, his voice breaks. Actually breaks. 6 years of control fracturing. I need you to not do this to yourself. Because you're brilliant and reckless and you're going to get yourself killed and I can't. I can't watch that happen. I'm fine. It's just a bump. Some blood. Nothing serious. This time. What about next time? What about when you push someone who doesn't just shove you into a wall? What about when you ask the wrong question to someone who doesn't stop at intimidation? What about when? She reaches up slowly. Telegraphing movement. Gives him time to pull away if he needs to. Touches his face gently. The contact shocks them both. You're allowed to care about people, she says quietly. Even from 3 feet away. Caring isn't what got your brother killed. Whatever happened 6 years ago, it wasn't your fault for caring. It was someone else's fault for betraying that care. You don't know that. You don't know what happened, what I failed to see, what I should have prevented. Then tell me. Explain it. Help me understand. So he does. Tells her everything he didn't tell her before. About his brother Jaemin, who ran their operations in Busan. About the woman named So-hee, who Jaemin fell in love with. About how So-hee seemed perfect, seemed trustworthy, seemed like she genuinely loved Jaemin. About how Tae-jin approved the relationship, told his brother to be happy, didn't see the signs. About how So-hee was feeding information to rival crew the entire time. About how she learned schedules, patterns, vulnerabilities. About how she set up the ambush. About how 8 people died in one night, including Jaemin. About how Tae-jin found them. About how his brother's last words were, "I trusted her." About how Tae-jin blamed himself. Still blames himself. About how he vowed never to let anyone close enough to hurt him like that again. About the 3-foot rule. About 6 years of isolation. So I learned, Tae-jin says, pulling back from her touch. Distance equals safety. Proximity equals vulnerability. 3 feet minimum. No exceptions. No one gets close. Except me. Except you. Why? Why did you let me stay that first night? Why did you pocket my business card? Why do you let me sit 2 feet away every week? He's quiet for a long moment. Then, because you walked into my space like my walls didn't exist. Because you sat down and made it feel normal instead of threatening. Because you saw my 3-foot rule and didn't treat it like I was broken. Just accepted it. Because for first time in 6 years, proximity felt like possibility instead of danger. Because I was drowning in isolation, and you made me remember what connection feels like. Kimmy's eyes glisten. I'm scared too. Of getting close. Of trusting. Of letting someone matter. I had my own betrayal in London. My ex Marcus, who used my journalism work to cover his drug distribution operation. Who put me in danger without telling me. Who made me question every instinct I had about people. Who made me feel stupid for trusting. Is that why you came to Seoul? Partly. Also the work. Also running. Also hoping distance from London means distance from that feeling of being used. Of being naive. Of trusting someone who was using me from day one. Does it work? The distance? Not really. The feeling follows you. Trust issues don't care about geography. Just like your 3-foot rule doesn't actually keep you safe. It just keeps you lonely. They're still close. Closer than Tae-jin has been to anyone in 6 years. He should move. Should restore boundaries. Should remember all the reasons why this is dangerous. Why caring about someone means giving them power to destroy you. Instead, he closes the remaining distance. Rests his forehead against hers. Just breathing. Just existing in this impossible proximity that should feel terrifying and instead feels like relief. I don't know how to do this, he admits quietly. Do what? Be close to someone without waiting for it to destroy me. Without measuring distance every moment. Without preparing for the betrayal I'm certain is coming. Maybe you don't have to know how. Maybe you just try. One day at a time. One moment at a time. One breath at a time. That's terrifying. Everything worth doing is. They stay like that. Foreheads touching. Breathing synchronized. 2 people who built elaborate walls learning that maybe walls aren't the answer. Maybe connection is worth the risk. Maybe 3 feet isn't safety. Maybe it's just loneliness with measurement attached. Eventually Kimmy pulls back slightly. I should probably go home. Let you have your space back. Stay. Tae-jin. Just tonight. Stay here where I know you're safe. Where I can see that you're okay. Where I don't have to imagine worst-case scenarios all night. What about your space? Your boundaries? Your rules? They don't matter as much as knowing you're safe. They never mattered as much as I convinced myself they did. She studies his face. Sees the fear and the hope and the desperate need to protect, even while he's terrified of what that need means. Okay, I'll stay. But just tonight. He shows her to guest room. Gives her clothes to sleep in. Fresh towels. Everything she needs. Says goodnight. Then lies awake in his own room 3 doors down wondering what he's done. Wondering if he just made the biggest mistake or the bravest choice. Wondering if proximity will destroy him the way it destroyed his brother. Morning comes too early. Tae-jin hasn't slept. Just lay awake calculating risks. Measuring consequences. Trying to convince himself that letting Kimmy stay was strategic decision rather than emotional surrender. He hears her moving in the kitchen. Smells coffee brewing. Finds her there wearing his shirt that's too large on her frame. Her braids are loose now. Falling around her shoulders. She looks comfortable in his space in a way that should feel invasive and instead feels inevitable. I hope you don't mind, she says, gesturing to the coffee. I needed caffeine to function. My head is pounding. You should take it easy today. Concussions are serious. I called my editor. Told her I'm taking a few days off. She was surprisingly understanding. Apparently getting assaulted while investigating a story earns you sympathy points. You're not going back to that neighborhood. It's not a question, not a request. Kimmy's eyes narrow. Excuse me. The lending operation you were investigating. You're done with it. It's too dangerous. That's not your decision. Someone hurt you. They'll do it again if you keep pushing. So I should just stop? Let them intimidate me? Give up on a story because it got difficult? She sets down her coffee cup harder than necessary. That's not how journalism works. That's not how I work. That's how survival works. I didn't come to Seoul to survive. I came to do work that matters. They stare at each other across his kitchen. The comfortable proximity from last night evaporates, replaced by tension, by fundamental difference in how they see the world. I can't protect you if you keep walking into danger, Tae-jin says quietly. I didn't ask you to protect me. You didn't have to ask. The moment you sat at my table, you became my responsibility. I'm not your responsibility. I'm not your anything. I'm a journalist doing my job. She stops. Recalibrates. You're someone I've been spending time with. That doesn't give you authority over my choices. She's right. He knows she's right. But 6 years of controlling everything makes letting go impossible. What if I ask? Not as someone with authority. As someone who cares whether you live or die. Then I'd say thank you for caring. And I'd still make my own decisions. The standoff lasts another moment. Then Kimmy sighs. Look, I appreciate what you're trying to do. Really. But I've been taking care of myself for a long time. I know the risks. I accept them. That's part of the job. The job isn't worth dying for. Maybe not to you. But it's my job. My purpose. The thing that makes me feel like I matter. You can't ask me to give that up. Even if you're terrified I'll get hurt. Tae-jin wants to argue. Wants to explain all the ways she's wrong. Instead he asks, will you at least let me help? Give you information that keeps you safer? Connect you with sources who won't get you killed? She considers this. That feels like compromise I can accept. As long as you understand I'm still making final decisions about what I investigate and how. Understood. Good. She picks up her coffee again. Now, about those men who attacked me. You said you know who they work for. I do. Are you going to tell me? No. Why not? Because you'll investigate them. And they're more dangerous than you realize. Let me decide what's too dangerous. Kimmy. Information, Tae-jin. You said you'd help by giving me information. So give it. He's trapped by his own offer. They work for Kim Sang-chul, mid-level operator who runs lending and protection in Mapo. Violent, but not sophisticated. The kind of person who solves problems with fists instead of strategy. And you're going to handle him. Yes. How? You don't want those details. Actually, I do. If I'm accepting your help, I deserve to know what that help looks like. Tae-jin measures his words carefully. I'll make it clear that touching you was a mistake. That you're under protection now. That repeating that mistake has consequences. What kind of consequences? The kind that ensures it doesn't happen again. That's vague on purpose. Yes. Kimmy is quiet for a moment. Then, I don't want you to hurt people because of me. I won't hurt anyone who doesn't deserve it. That's not reassuring. It's honest. You asked for honesty. This is what my world looks like. People understand force. Understand consequences. If I don't respond to this, it signals that you're unprotected. That anyone can intimidate you. That opens you up to more danger, not less. She absorbs this. So you're saying violence now prevents more violence later. Exactly. That's a deeply cynical worldview. It's a realistic one. At least in the circles I operate in. Kimmy finishes her coffee. Sets the cup in sink. Turns to face him directly. Okay. Do what you need to do. But Tae-jin, I need you to promise me something. What? That this stays proportional. That you don't escalate beyond what's necessary. That you don't let your fear for me turn into something worse. I promise I'll handle it appropriately. That's not the same as promising it stays proportional. It's the best I can offer. She studies his face. Sees the steel underneath the control. The barely restrained protective instinct. The man who spent 6 years keeping everyone at distance suddenly facing the reality that caring about someone means confronting threats to them. I should go, she says finally. Let you handle your business. Return to my apartment. Pretend last night didn't completely upend my understanding of boundaries. You can stay longer. I don't think that's a good idea. You need space. I need space. We both need to process what's happening here. She's right. Again. But Tae-jin doesn't want her to leave. Doesn't want her out of his sight. Doesn't want her walking through Seoul where men might hurt her again. Let Junho drive you, he says. He'll make sure you get home safely. I can take the subway. Please. Let me do this one thing. She sees the plea underneath the request. Nods. Okay. Junho can drive me. But Tae-jin, you need to understand something. I'm not going to stop working. I'm not going to stop investigating. This is who I am. If you can't handle that, tell me now. I can handle it. I just need you to be smart about it. I'm always smart about it. Sometimes smart just looks reckless from the outside. Junho drives her home. Tae-jin watches from his window until the car disappears. Then he makes calls. To people who know people. To people who owe him favors. To people who understand that Kim Sang-chul made a very serious mistake. The message spreads quickly through Seoul's underground. Kemi Adebayo is protected. Untouchable. Anyone who hurts her answers to Tae-jin's CO directly. And everyone knows what that means. Kim Sang-chul gets the message within hours. Comes to meet Tae-jin at neutral location. Expensive restaurant in Gangnam. Private room. Just the two of them. I didn't know she was yours, Kim says immediately. Defensive. Nervous. She was asking questions about my operations. I sent men to discourage her. Standard protocol. She's not mine. She's under my protection. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. She makes her own choices. Lives her own life. I just make sure no one hurts her while she does. Kim processes this. So she's still investigating? Still asking questions? Probably. And I'm supposed to just let her? You're supposed to answer her questions politely. Redirect her if necessary. But touch her again, and there won't be a conversation. There will just be consequences. That's not fair. You can't declare someone protected and then let them keep investigating. That's having it both ways. I can do exactly that. Because I'm offering you something valuable in exchange. What? I won't destroy your operation for what you already did. I'll consider it a misunderstanding. We move forward. No retaliation. Clean slate. Kim considers this. He's not stupid. Knows that Tae-jin could eliminate him easily. Knows that walking away with just a warning is generous offer. And if she investigates something that exposes my operations, then you have bigger problems than one journalist. But you deal with those problems through information, not violence. You give her enough to satisfy her questions without revealing anything critical. You be smart about it. You're asking a lot. I'm asking you to not be an idiot. That should be baseline expectation, not a lot. Kim nods slowly. Understood. The journalist is protected. My people won't touch her again. Make sure everyone in your organization understands. Not just your direct reports. Everyone. Because if someone didn't get the message and hurts her, I won't care about chain of command. I'll hold you responsible. Crystal clear. Tae-jin stands. Good. Then we're done here. He leaves feeling unsatisfied. The conversation was necessary. The protection is in place. But it doesn't address the fundamental problem. Kemi will keep investigating. Keep asking dangerous questions. Keep walking into situations that could get her killed. And he can't protect her from everything. Can't warn off every threat. Can't control a world that's inherently violent. But he can try. Over the next 2 weeks, he builds protective network around her without her knowledge. Has people watch her building. Track her movements. Identify who she's talking to. Not surveillance exactly. Just awareness. Just making sure if trouble appears, he knows immediately. Kemi notices eventually. Of course she does. She's too sharp not to. Are you having me followed? She asks one Wednesday at their table. I prefer the term protective observation. That's surveillance with better PR. It's making sure you're safe. It's violating my privacy. It's treating me like I can't take care of myself. It's exactly what I told you not to do. Tae-jin sets down his drink. 2 weeks ago, men put you in the hospital. Forgive me for wanting to make sure that doesn't happen again. By stalking me. By being aware of potential threats before they materialize. That's the same thing. Other patrons glance over. Rare for the quiet corner table to have heated conversation. Junho moves closer, concerned. Tae-jin waves him off. Let's talk about this somewhere private, Tae-jin says quietly. No. Let's talk about it right here. Right now? Because I need you to understand something fundamental. Kemi leans forward. 2 feet becomes 1 foot. Becomes inches. I left London to escape a relationship where someone made decisions for me, where someone used protection as excuse for control. I will not recreate that dynamic here. Not with you. Not with anyone. This is different. How? How is this different from Marcus deciding what stories I could cover? What neighborhoods were too dangerous? What questions were too risky? You're doing the same thing, just with better intentions. Because I actually care about keeping you safe, not controlling you. The result is the same. Surveillance. Limitations. Someone else deciding what risks are acceptable for my life. They stare at each other. Impasse. Fundamental disagreement that can't be resolved with compromise. I'll stop the surveillance, Tae-jin says finally. Really? Yes. But you have to promise me something in return. What? Check in. Daily. Let me know you're okay. Just text. Just proof of life. That's all I'm asking. Kimmy considers this. That's actually reasonable. I have moments of reasonableness. Rare ones. Very rare. Don't tell anyone. It'll ruin my reputation. She almost smiles. Deal. Daily check-ins. You stop the surveillance. We both get what we need. Agreed. They shake on it. The physical contact is still significant. Still sends shock through Tae-jin's system. But less than before. More manageable. Like his nervous system is slowly learning that proximity doesn't mean death. I'm sorry, Kimmy says quietly, for comparing you to Marcus. That wasn't fair. You're nothing like him. I'm exactly like him in the ways that matter. I see danger, and I want to control it. Want to eliminate it. Want to build walls around things I care about. But you listened when I said stop. You compromised. Marcus never did that. Never heard me. Just kept making decisions and calling it love. Is that what this is? Tae-jin asks. Love. The question hangs between them. Neither has said the word before. Both have carefully avoided it. Because saying it makes it real. Makes it vulnerable. Makes it something that can be lost. I don't know, Kimmy admits. I know I think about you constantly. I know I rearranged my schedule to be here on Wednesdays. I know that when I got hurt, you were the first person I wanted to see. I know proximity to you feels like home in a way nothing has since I left Lagos as a child. But love? I don't know if I trust my judgment about love anymore. I don't know either. I haven't let myself feel anything resembling love in 6 years. But I know I sleep better when you're in the next room. I know I've rewritten every rule I made to survive just to keep you close. I know that 3 feet doesn't matter anymore if you're the one crossing the line. So if that's love, then yes. I love you. Kimmy's eyes fill with tears. That's the most emotionally constipated declaration of love I've ever heard. I'm out of practice. Clearly. But I meant it. I know. She wipes her eyes. I love you too. Despite your control issues. Despite your surveillance tendencies. Despite the fact that you've made my life infinitely more complicated. I love you. They sit in silence for a moment, letting the words settle, letting the acknowledgement change things. What happens now? Kimmy asks. Now we figure out how to do this. How to love each other without destroying each other. How to be close without losing ourselves. That sounds hard. Everything worth doing is hard. You stole my line. I'm adapting your wisdom. That's character growth. Don't tell anyone. It'll ruin my reputation. She laughs. The sound fills their corner. Warm and real. Other patrons smile without knowing why. Just responding to the joy. 3 months after Kimmy first sat at his table, Tae-jin takes her to meet someone important. His brother's grave. Small cemetery outside Seoul. Quiet. Away from the city's chaos. I've never brought anyone here, he says as they walk through rows of stones. Not in 6 years. You don't have to if you're not ready. I'm not ready. But I'm doing it anyway. They stop at simple marker. Co Jae-min. Dates of birth and death. Nothing elaborate. Nothing that explains who he was, or how he died, or what he meant. This is Jae-min, Tae-jin says. My younger brother. The person whose death taught me that proximity equals danger. That love equals vulnerability. That caring about someone gives them power to destroy you. What was he like? Funny. Charming. Better at people than I ever was. He could walk into a room and make everyone love him in 5 minutes. I always envied that. I make people nervous. He made people feel safe. He sounds wonderful. He was. And he died because I approved a relationship I should have questioned. Because I wanted him to be happy more than I wanted him to be safe. Kimmy takes his hand. The gesture is natural now. Automatic. It wasn't your fault. The woman who betrayed him made her choices. The people who killed him made their choices. You didn't make those choices. You just loved your brother. Love got him killed. No. Betrayal got him killed. There's a difference. They stand in silence. Taejin talks to his brother for the first time in 6 years. Tells him about Kimmy. About the woman who crossed his line. About learning to be close again. About how terrifying it is. About how necessary it feels. He'd like you. Taejin says eventually. He'd say I needed someone who wouldn't tolerate my control issues. Someone who'd call me out. Someone brave enough to sit 2 feet away when I demanded 3. I wish I could have met him. Me too. They leave the cemetery hand in hand. Taejin feels lighter somehow. Like telling his brother about Kimmy made it more real. Made it more permanent. Made it something worth protecting despite the risk. That night, Kimmy stays at his penthouse. Not in the guest room. In his room. In his bed. They don't have sex. Just hold each other. Just exist in proximity that 6 months ago would have been impossible. I'm still scared, Taejin admits in the darkness. Of what? Of losing you. Of this ending badly. Of proximity destroying me the way it destroyed Jaemin. I'm scared too. Of trusting wrong person again. Of getting hurt. Of loving someone whose world is inherently dangerous. So what do? We be scared together. We acknowledge the risk. We choose each other anyway. That's simple. That complicated. They fall asleep tangled together. 2 people who built walls learning that maybe walls keep out danger, but they also keep out life. And life, with all its mess and risk and vulnerability, is what makes survival worth it. For months in, someone tests the boundaries. Not Kim Sang-chul. Someone bigger. Someone who sees Taejin's protection of Kimmy as exploitable weakness. The message comes through intermediary. Request for meeting. Urgent. From Zhang Wei, representative of Chinese operations expanding into Seoul. Taejin knows what this is about. Knows what they want. Knows this conversation was inevitable. The meeting happens in hotel suite. Neutral territory. Zhang Wei sits with 2 associates. Taejin brings Junho. Equal numbers. Equal positioning. Mr. CEO, thank you for coming, Zhang Wei says. Mandarin accent coloring his Korean. We have a proposition. I'm listening. We're expanding operations in Seoul. We prefer partnerships over conflict. Your organization is well positioned. Your network is impressive. We'd like to collaborate. I work alone. Yes, we've heard. 6 years of independence. Very admirable, but also limiting. There are opportunities you're missing. Markets you can't access alone. What does this have to do with the journalist? Zhang Wei smiles. Direct. I appreciate that. The journalist is relevant because she demonstrates a weakness. You've shown you can be manipulated through emotional attachment. That makes partnership more complicated. Elaborate. If we partner, we need to know you won't make decisions based on emotion. That you won't prioritize one person over organizational interests. The journalist is a test case. What happens when protecting her conflicts with business? Taejin understands now. This isn't about partnership. This is about control. About finding leverage. About using Kimmy to manipulate him. The journalist is off limits, he says flatly. That's non-negotiable baseline. Even if protecting her costs you opportunities, territory, money, even then, that's irrational. That's my price for any partnership. She's protected. Completely. Anyone who touches her answers to me. Not to some partnership. Not to some collective decision. To me alone. Zhang Wei exchanges glances with his associates. That's problematic. It gives you ultimate authority over something we might have interest in controlling. You have no interest in her. You have interest in using her to control me. I'm clarifying that won't work. She's my line. Crossing it means war. Simple as that. You'd start a war over one woman? I'd end a war over her. There's a difference. You can test that if you want. See how it goes. Or you can accept the boundary, and we discuss partnership terms that actually make sense. Zhang Wei is quiet for a long moment. Calculating. Measuring. Seeing if Taejin is bluffing. He's not. Very well, Zhang Wei says finally. The journalist is off limits. But Mr. CEO, understand that this protection extends only as far as your power does. If your position weakens, these guarantees weaken with it. My position won't weaken. Everyone's position weakens eventually. That's the nature of our business. The meeting ends without partnership. Without agreement. Just mutual understanding that Kimmy is untouchable. That using her as leverage will fail. That Taejin has drawn a line he won't compromise on. Junho speaks once they're alone in the car. That was risky, boss. Refusing partnership over one person. It was necessary. They needed to know she's not negotiable. But what if they're right? What if protecting her does weaken your position? Then I'm weaker. But I'm not alone. There's value in that I'd forgotten about. He goes straight to Kemi's apartment. She's working on article. Deadline mode. Doesn't hear him knock. He uses the key she gave him last week. Finds her surrounded by papers and empty coffee cups. You look like hell, he observes. Deadline in 6 hours. Hell is where I live. She glances up. Sees his face. What happened? Meeting with Chinese operations. They tried to use you as leverage. I clarified that wouldn't work. By doing what? By making it clear you're protected no matter what. That I'd choose you over partnership. Over expansion. Over any business opportunity. Kemi sets down her laptop. That's idiotic. Probably. You can't run an organization by choosing emotion over strategy. I'm not choosing emotion over strategy. I'm setting boundaries. There's a difference. Tae-jin, I don't want to be your weakness. Don't want to be the thing people use against you. That's exactly what happened with Marcus. I became his liability. You're not a liability. You're a line. Everyone needs lines. Things they won't compromise on. You're mine. That's incredibly romantic and deeply concerning in equal measure. I contain multitudes. She almost smiles. You're stealing my philosophy now. I'm integrating your wisdom into my worldview. That's what happens when you love someone. You become part of each other. Kemi stands, crosses the small space, wraps her arms around him. I love you. Even when you make completely irrational decisions that could get you killed. Even when you choose me over strategy. Even when you're absolutely terrifying. I love you. I love you too. Even when you ask dangerous questions. Even when you refuse protection. Even when you're on deadline and look like you haven't slept in 3 days. I haven't slept in 3 days. I know. Come home with me. Finish your article there. At least then I know you're eating and sleeping. That's just a different kind of surveillance. It's loving observation. That's absolutely surveillance with better branding. Yes. But you love me anyway. I do. God help me, I really do. 5 months in, Tae-jin wakes up and realizes Kemi is in his kitchen every morning. That her toothbrush lives in his bathroom. That her clothes are mixed with his in the closet. That his carefully controlled space is no longer just his. That proximity has become permanence. It should terrify him. Should trigger every alarm. Should remind him why 3 feet mattered. Instead it feels right. Feels like coming home after 6 years of exile. We should talk about this, he says over coffee one morning. About what? About the fact that you live here now. That we never officially decided that. It just happened. Do we need to officially decide things? Can't they just happen? I'm a person who measures distances and makes rules. Things just happening makes me uncomfortable. So make a rule. What's the rule for living together? Tae-jin considers this. Honesty. About everything. About feelings. About fears. About when proximity feels like too much. I can do honesty. And compromise. When we disagree about risk. About boundaries. About how to navigate this. Compromise is harder for me. But I'll try. And daily check-ins. So I know you're safe without surveilling you. Already doing that. And you keep your apartment. Keep your space. Don't give up independence just because we're building something together. Why? Because if this ends, I don't want you stranded. Don't want you dependent. Don't want you trapped. Kemi sets down her coffee. You're planning for the ending before we've even properly begun? I'm being realistic. Most relationships end. I want you to be okay when this one does. That's the most pessimistic romantic gesture I've ever seen. I contain multitudes. You really need to stop stealing my lines. But she keeps her apartment. Keeps her independence. Lives with him, but maintains her space. And Tae-jin sleeps better knowing she has options. Has freedom. Has the ability to leave if staying becomes dangerous. 6 months after Kemi first sat at his table, they're at their bar on Wednesday night. Same booth. Same table. But sitting on the same side now. Inches apart. No 3-foot rule. No measured distance. Just proximity that feels natural. I have news, Kemi says. Good news or complicated news? Both. I got offered a feature position. Major Korean newspaper. Investigative team. It's everything I wanted. That's incredible. It means more stability. Better resources. Actual support for dangerous investigations instead of just me wandering around asking questions. So what's the complicated part? It means staying in Seoul long term. It means committing. I've been here less than a year. I usually run after 2 years maximum. Start over somewhere new. But this job is too good to pass up. And you're afraid of committing? I'm afraid of getting trapped. Of building a life here, and then needing to leave because the ex finds me. Or because the work gets too dangerous. Or because this ends badly? Yes. Taejin takes her hand. The gesture is automatic now. Natural. I can't promise this won't end badly. Can't promise my world won't touch yours in dangerous ways. Can't promise that proximity to me won't make your life harder. But I can promise that if you stay, I'll do everything in my power to make sure staying is the right choice. That's not reassuring. It's honest. Why do you always say that? Because honesty is all I have to offer. I'm not good at romance. I'm not good at emotional availability. I'm not good at any of the things that make relationships work normally. But I'm good at honesty. At saying what I mean. At keeping promises. So if I promise to make staying worthwhile, I mean it. Kemi leans against him. Take the job. I'm taking the job. I'm glad. Me too. Terrified, but glad. They sit in comfortable silence. Their corner of the bar. Their table. Their space that used to be his space until she crossed the line and made it theirs. Thank you. Taejin says quietly. For what? For not respecting my boundaries. For sitting 2 feet away when I needed 3. For being too brave to know you should stay away. For showing me that distance isn't the same as safety. For crossing my line. For staying anyway. You're welcome. Though I should probably apologize for all of that. Don't. It's the best invasion I've ever experienced. 1 year after Kemi first sat at his table, Taejin takes her to the bar on Wednesday night. Their table is waiting. Always waiting. But tonight there's something on it. Small box. Simple. Unmistakable. Kemi stops walking. Stares at it. Taejin. Open it. What is this? Open it and find out. She sits. Opens the box with shaking hands. Inside is a key. Not a ring. A key. What is this? Key to a place I bought. In your name. Your space completely. No surveillance. No control. No conditions. Just yours. So you always have somewhere to go if you need it. So you're never trapped. So staying with me is always a choice. Tears stream down Kemi's face. This is the most emotionally constipated romantic gesture I've ever seen. I'm still out of practice. You bought me an apartment. I bought you freedom. There's a difference. I don't know if I should kiss you or hit you. Both seems appropriate. She does both. Kisses him. Hits his shoulder. Cries. Laughs. You're impossible. I know. I love you anyway. I know that too. They sit at their table. Not 3 feet apart. Not 2 feet apart. Together. Choosing proximity despite every reason not to. Choosing vulnerability despite the risk. Choosing love despite the certainty that love means giving someone power to destroy you. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone close. Let them cross the line you drew to protect yourself. Let them show you that maybe isolation isn't safety. Maybe it's just loneliness with measurement attached. And maybe, just maybe, some people are worth the risk. Worth breaking every rule. Worth abandoning every wall. Worth learning that 3 feet isn't protection. It's just fear. And fear is no way to live. If you made it this far, you understand this isn't a fairy tale. It's 2 damaged people learning to be less damaged together. Comment below if you believe some people are worth dismantling all your defenses for. Hit subscribe if you want stories where love doesn't fix everything, but makes carrying the broken parts possible. Share this if you know someone who measures their safety in distance and needs to hear that proximity isn't always dangerous. Sometimes it's just necessary. Sometimes it's the only thing that saves you. See you in the next story.